Where I'm at is at Evergreen Cemetery, smack dab in the middle of East LA in Boyle Heights, California. I'm gonna visit the final resting place of Matthew Stymie Beard, one of the R Gang children. He's buried here in East LA because he was brought up here in East LA, and at that time East LA had a large black, Jewish, Japanese and Hispanic multi-ethnic environment. And Stymie was from a family of 14 children, and out of 350 kids that tried to get the role to replace Farina, thankfully he got the role because the director Robert McGowan really took a liking to him right away. And he said, and thankfully after he filmed he showed up good on film. And he's way to the back from the western entrance. He's way to the back in section L at 315B section, and you can't miss it because he's left of that palm tree, about 7 or 8 gravestones, and then perpendicular with this pine tree here. And if you make a 90-degree angle, you'll hit it pretty much direct. And if you need another bit of information, you can see this Ladies Auxiliary Pacific Coast Showmen's Association, organized 1930. And then you can see this tiger, and you'll know you're in the right place. So you are gang fans without having to bother the people in the back. They're not very friendly, so that's the way you can find them if you want to visit Stymie. Stymie replaced Farina in 1930. He appeared in about 35 shorts. And then Buckwheat likewise replaced him in 1935. And Stymie, his sister Carlina, was in a few shorts. And if you want to see Carlina, you can see her. And for Pete's sake, she was the little girl that this running gag that every time the R Gang the little rascals would end up going into a store and leaving, they'd always have to come back because she'd be hanging from a hook. And then, okay, over here we're between First Street and Cesar Chavez, and there's a Gold Line stop over there, and there's the Mexican Mercado. It's a well-known secret in East LA. They got great Mexican food. It's an indoor arcade with all kinds of Mexican restaurants, very inexpensive lobster. And then in that section over there at Lorena and Cesar Chavez is Cinco Puntos. That's Spanish for like a 5-street intersection. And if you're at all curious, or if you want information to get the best corn masa in East LA, that's where all the Hispanic Americans who grew up here come back every year to get their corn masa or their corn dough for Christmas and Thanksgiving tamales. The R Gang series was filmed on the Hell Road Studios lot with Laurel and Hardy, and Stan Laurel became a friend of little Stymie, and he gave him a gift of a derby hat. And they said that Stymie was buried with that famous derby hat. And he died at 56. He was hooked on heroin, and he fell down a flight of stairs. He was living alone here in LA, and nobody could hear him calling out for help, but he was paralyzed from a stroke when they found him 2 days later. And then he got pneumonia after that, and then he died a couple of days later at 56. And he's sharing this gravestone with somebody else. I don't know, I guess maybe he was so poor he had to share the space with somebody else. And the way he got his nickname Stymie is he was always frustrating, or he stymied Robert McGowan, the director, because every time they were going to do a scene with Stymie, he was always wandering around. They could never find him, so he got the nickname Stymie. And his character evolved into a con. And like there's this one scene that I love in The Pooch, I think it is, where he was always hungry, and he went to the back of this lady's porch and he asked this lady, hey, say Mrs. Lady, can you give me some food? And she goes, what would you like? And then she walked him in the kitchen. She opened up the ice box, and there was this big old artichoke. And Stymie goes, She goes, would you like that? He goes, yes, Mrs. Lady. And she goes, are you a vegetarian? And he goes, oh no, Mrs. Lady, I's a Methodist. Anyway, somebody had apparently left a penny here, and I cleaned it up really nice, and I left these marigolds represent the dead. And we just finished the 3-day observance of the Day of the Dead, starting October 31st, November 1st and 2nd. And thank you, Matthew, for all the happiness you brought us children, and may you be in a better place and maybe in another universe making other children happy. And he, like I said, he had 13 siblings that luckily he was able to get that role, and he supported them. And in 1935, when he was replaced by Buckwheat, he starred in Errol Flynn's first film in America, Captain Blood, that made Errol Flynn really famous. Then he was in Jezebel in 1938, and then Henry Fonda in 1940 he starred with in The Return of Jesse James. And then way later in 1981 he was in East of Eden, the miniseries. He played a cat house pianist. And then in between, I guess, getting off heroin, in the 70s he was a character named Monty for a couple of shows on Good Times, and he was in Sanford and Son, and he was in Maude. But they said that after 1940 he said that he was frustrated with getting roles, and then he was embarrassed with his childhood, and then he to fit in, they said he did a lot of drugs. Then he got hooked on heroin, and he started doing petty crime, and then he ended up in prison. And then he get off the drugs, clean himself up, and then, like I said, he ended up being alone and broke, and I guess maybe that's why they buried him right here. And one more anecdote, there was nothing, no bugs or anything anywhere in this whole area. Then when I get to Stymie's grave, there's these nests of these hundreds of these red bugs all over, like apparently like signifying the only life in this area, or maybe like a sign from the gods that this guy gave a lot of life to people. I don't know, but these bugs were all over when I was cleaning up, and now they scattered, but maybe that was a sign from the gods of all the life he brought everybody in this world, maybe. And another factoid, I was fortunate to meet one of the our gang, Spanky McFarlane, in 1987. He was gambling at the poker. He was at the Bicycle Club in Bell Gardens, California, and I worked at the restaurant there, which incidentally had the best Chinese food. And he was chowing down, and he was telling the busboy that he was Spanky McFarlane, and then that busboy came up and told me, hey, that guy says he's Spanky McFarlane. And I walked on, I couldn't believe it was. He was apparently here in LA. He lived in Texas, and at that time in the 80s, that was the only place where you could get to play legal poker. And he was in there in the restaurant in between taking a break, and I served him his food, and we talked for a while. And the only thing I'm eternally sorry for, that I didn't get his autograph. But one thing, let me tell you about old Spanky. He was drunk as a lord, God bless him. Could barely stand up, sit up in his chair while he was eating. But okay, I guess I just about covered it. Thank you, Stymie, and thank you for all the memories and the happiness you brought us children. Good night, sweet prince. Bye-bye.